Welcome to Miss Scarlett, the place to be feminine. Subscribe and enjoy. Bob tugging at the floral sundress that clung to his stocky frame. The vibrant colors popped against his pasty skin, the hem falling just above his knobby knees. He adjusted the spaghetti straps, took a deep breath, and reached for his briefcase. Today was going to be different. The bus ride to work was uneventful, save for a few sideways glances and raised eyebrows from fellow commuters. Bob kept his head held high, his legs crossed primly at the ankles. As the bus lurched to a stop in front of Acme Industries, he smoothed his skirt, disembarked, and clip-clopped toward the office entrance in his sensible black heels. Sheila from HR was the first to spot him as he sashayed into the lobby. Her eyes widened behind cat eye glasses as she took in Bob's colorful attire. "Why, Bob, don't you look festive today?" She trotted over, pen poised above her clipboard. "I must say, that's quite a daring fashion statement. You simply must share your inspiration at the next Diversity and Inclusion seminar." Bob blinked. "Oh, thank you, Sheila. Just felt like mixing things up a bit, you know?" Sheila scribbled furiously on her clipboard. "Mixing things up, I like that. Very avant-garde. Well, you just made my job a whole lot more interesting today. Carry on." She winked conspiratorially and click-clacked away. Shaking his head, Bob continued down the hallway to his cubicle. He passed the break room where a cluster of colleagues were gathered around the coffee maker. Conversation stopped abruptly as all eyes swiveled to stare at him.
"Morning, everyone,"
Bob said breezily, giving a little wave. Jaws dropped. Coffee cups paused midway to mouths. Bob sailed on by, relishing their stunned expressions. He had just settled into his desk chair when a booming voice startled him.
"Well, hello there. You must be the new hire in accounting. Roberta?"
Bob spun around to see his boss, Mr. Johnson, standing over him with an outstretched hand and a broad smile. He looked from Mr. Johnson's expectant face to his proffered hand, mind spinning. "Oh, no, sir, I'm not. No need to be modest, Roberta." Mr. Johnson pumped his hand enthusiastically. "I must say, I'm impressed. It takes guts to make such a bold statement on your first day. Really showcases the progressive hiring practices here at Acme. I knew our commitment to diversity and inclusion was more than just lip service. Actually, sir, it's me, Bob. Bob Finch? I've worked in accounting for 7 years, but Mr. Johnson was already barreling on. "You'll fit right in, Roberta. I like your moxie. Keep it up and you'll go far here." He clapped Bob heartily on the shoulder, spun on his wingtips, and strode off, whistling. Bob stared after him, mouth agape. Did his boss really just mistake him for a new female employee? And more importantly, did he seriously just get praise and encouragement for his wardrobe choice? He shook his head in disbelief. Maybe Sheila was onto something with this whole bold fashion statement thing. As the morning wore on, Bob found himself on the receiving end of more double takes, whispered speculation, and outright gawking. Mavis from payroll cornered him by the copier, demanding to know where he bought his dress. Dave, the mail clerk, nearly crashed his cart when Bob sashayed by in search of coffee. And when lunchtime rolled around, no less than 3 co-workers invited Bob to join them, curious to learn more about Acme's intriguing new hire. Riding high on his newfound popularity and the thrill of subverting expectations, Bob decided to kick things up a notch. He flounced into the executive boardroom just as the marketing team was setting up for their quarterly presentation. A dozen heads swiveled as one to ogle him as he took a seat at the far end of the table, making a show of crossing his legs. As the meeting got underway, Bob found himself fielding more questions and comments about his ensemble than the actual marketing reports. Marvin kept asking for his opinions on their new social media campaigns, while Janice in graphics pelted him with questions about his design inspiration. By mid-afternoon, Bob's confidence was soaring. So what if his attire was attracting more attention than his actual work? At least people were finally noticing him and seeming to appreciate his presence. As a veteran of Acme's gray upon beige landscape of polo shirts and khakis, Bob found the reactions to his sundress oddly liberating. Giddy with his small act of rebellion, Bob decided to swing by the IT department to see if they needed any help troubleshooting accounting software. He found systems analyst Tim hunched over a tangle of wires, face illuminated by the glow of 3 monitors. "Afternoon, Tim," Bob sing-songed, perching himself on the edge of the desk. "Need any help?" Tim glanced up, eyes bugging out of his head as he took in the sight of Bob's bare legs and colorful frock. His mouth opened and closed soundlessly for a moment before he managed to croak out a reply. "Oh, hey there. Wow, nope, all good here. Just reconfiguring some, servers, but thanks." He swallowed audibly, eyes darting around like a cornered animal. Bob bit back a smile, feeling a bit sorry for the poor guy. He slid off the desk, giving Tim a little finger wave.
"Well, let me know if you need anything. My door is always open."
He sauntered out, relishing Tim's flustered stammering behind him. As 5 o'clock rolled around, Bob found he was actually reluctant to change back into his regular clothes and leave his newfound persona behind. He had spent the day fielding compliments, questions, and more than a few appreciative once-overs. For the first time in his 8 years at Acme, he felt seen, heard, and dare he say, admired? The power of a simple sundress was not to be underestimated. Still, as he gathered his things to head home, Bob knew this magical day couldn't last forever. Tomorrow it would be back to earth tones and spreadsheets, his brief foray into fashion rebellion just a colorful memory. He was just pulling on his jacket when Sheila popped her head into his cubicle. "Bob, there you are. I just wanted to let you know, your little stunt today was a huge hit. I've already had 4 people come to me asking if every day could be sundress day. You may have started a revolution." Bob gaped at her. "Wait, really? You mean people actually liked this?" He gestured at his bare legs, sticking out beneath the rumpled skirt. "Liked it? They loved it. You really shook things up around here. Got people thinking, talking, engaging with each other. And that's what HR is all about. Fostering connections and promoting a positive workplace culture. Seriously, bravo." Sheila grabbed his hand and pumped it, her glasses slipping down her nose with the force of her enthusiasm. "In fact, I liked your idea so much, I'm considering making it an official Acme initiative. Fabulous Fashion Fridays? Every week, employees can wear their most fun, funky, fearless attire to showcase their personal style and creativity. What do you think?" Bob's eyes widened, his mouth quirked up in a disbelieving half-smile as the implications sank in. His silly little sundress escapade was not only being taken seriously by HR, but might actually become an officiated event. Maybe he was still asleep, and this was all a crazy dream. But Sheila was nodding emphatically, her smile stretching from ear to ear. "I'm telling you, Bob, this is going to be big, huge. You've really inspired me. I've got to run and draft a memo, and maybe place a bulk order of sundresses for the whole office. Ciao for now." She bustled off, chunky heels clacking, and leaving Bob standing dumbfounded in her wake. Could it really be that easy? Could one man and a floral dress really spark a shift in Acme's stuffy corporate culture? Bob turned to regard the sea of cubicles, imagining them filled with his coworkers decked out in bright colors, bold patterns, maybe even a feather boa or 2. He smiled. Maybe this wasn't just a one-hit wonder after all. Maybe Fabulous Fashion Fridays would be just the beginning. Bob slung his briefcase over his shoulder and headed out, ready to embrace whatever the next Fabulous Friday might bring. He could hardly wait to see what Sheila and the rest of Acme Industries would dream up. Life at the office was about to get a whole lot more interesting, and he had his trusty sundress to thank. Bob arrived at the office the following Friday, filled with anticipation and a touch of trepidation. He had spent the week fielding curious glances and whispered speculation from his coworkers, all eager to see if fabulous Fashion Fridays would actually come to fruition. As he stepped off the elevator, his jaw dropped. The once drab sea of cubicles had been transformed into a kaleidoscope of color and texture. Sequins winked under fluorescent lights. Feather boas drifted on the air-conditioned breeze. And everywhere Bob looked, his colleagues were decked out in their most fabulous finery. Mavis from payroll sashayed by in a skin-tight leopard print sheath, her usually severe bun festooned with glittery clips. Dave, the mail clerk, zoomed past on his cart, a tie-dye caftan billowing behind him. Even stoic Tim from IT had gotten in on the action, sporting a bedazzled pocket protector on his neon polo shirt. As Bob made his way to his desk, grinning from ear to ear, a familiar voice rang out. "Bob, get over here, you trend-setting maven!" Sheila was waving him over, resplendent in a rainbow-striped pantsuit and towering platform heels. She grabbed him by the shoulders, eyes shining behind her cat-eye glasses. "Can you believe it? Just look at this place. You've started a revolution, my friend. A fabulous, fierce fashion revolution." Bob shook his head, still marveling at the vibrant scene before him. "I can't believe it either, Sheila. I never imagined my little sundress stunt would lead to all this." "Oh, but it has! And it's only the beginning. I've been fielding calls all week from other companies wanting to know about our new initiative. You've put Acme on the map as a trailblazer in corporate culture." Bob's eyebrows shot up. "Other companies? Really?" Sheila nodded emphatically. "Really? In fact, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Upper management has taken notice of all the buzz around Fabulous Fashion Fridays. They want to capitalize on it." "Capitalize how?" "Well, for starters, they want to feature you in the company newsletter. A full-page spread on the man who dared to shake up the status quo with a sundress." Bob blanched. "Me? In the newsletter? I don't know, Sheila." "Oh, come on! It'll be great! You'll be an inspiration to others, showing them that it's okay to be bold, to take risks, to express yourself." She fixed him with a pleading look. "Please say you'll do it. For me? For Acme? For the future of fashion in the workplace?" Bob hesitated. Being the poster boy for corporate nonconformity wasn't exactly what he'd had in mind when he first zipped up that sundress. But looking around at his coworkers, seeing the joy and camaraderie his small act of defiance had sparked, he felt a swell of pride. Maybe Sheila was right. Maybe he did have a responsibility to keep this fabulous ball rolling. Okay, I'll do it." He relented. "But I get final approval on the photos. No way am I letting them use that pic from last year's holiday party." Sheila squealed and clapped her hands. "Deal! Oh, this is going to be epic. I'm seeing a 2-page spread, full color, maybe even a pull-out poster." She grabbed Bob's arm and started steering him toward the elevator. "Come on, Mr. Cover Model. We've got a photo shoot to plan." As Bob allowed himself to be led away, head spinning with visions of his impending corporate fame, a niggling thought wormed its way into his brain. What if this whole thing was getting a bit out of hand? What if, in his zeal to shake things up, he had unleashed a force beyond his control? He shook off the doubts as Sheila jabbed the button for the top floor, still prattling on about lighting and angles. No turning back now. The fabulous Fashion Friday train had left the station, and Bob was apparently its conductor. He just hoped he could keep it from jumping the tracks. The next few hours passed in a blur of flashbulbs and wardrobe changes. Sheila had wrangled a photographer from marketing, a willowy young man named Aiden who kept gushing about Bob's classic bone structure and striking profile. By the time they wrapped, Bob felt like he'd modeled every garment in Sheila's extensive collection, from a billowing caftan to a skin-tight sequined unitard. He was exhausted, slightly blinded by the lights, and more than ready to retreat to the safety of his cubicle. But Sheila was practically vibrating with excitement. "Oh my God, Bob! You were amazing! A total natural in front of the camera! These shots are going to be legendary!" She scrolled through the digital images, oohing and ahhing. "Yes, perfect! That's the one! The money shot!" She tilted the screen so Bob could see. His jaw dropped. Staring back at him was a stranger, a wild-eyed, wind-blown figure in a flowing, tie-dyed tunic, striking a dramatic pose against the floor-to-ceiling windows.
"That's me?"
he croaked. "You better believe it, baby! Eat your heart out, Vogue magazine! Acme Industries has a new cover star!" Sheila crowed. Bob swallowed hard. This was really happening. In a few short days, that image would be splashed across the pages of Acme Action Monthly, circulated to hundreds of employees, clients, maybe even competitors. There would be no going back to anonymity after this. As if reading his thoughts, Sheila laid a hand on his arm. "Hey, I know this is a lot, but trust me, it's all going to work out. You're doing something amazing here, Bob. Something important. Don't lose sight of that." Bob took a deep breath, squared his shoulders. Sheila was right. He had started this fabulous revolution, accidentally or not. And now it was his responsibility to see it through. He managed a shaky smile. "You're right. I can do this. I am Bob Finch, trendsetter extraordinaire." "Damn straight you are!" Sheila gave his arm a squeeze. "Now let's get you back downstairs before people start talking." She wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. Bob laughed, feeling some of the tension drain away. "Lead the way, boss lady." As they made their way back down to accounting, Bob's mind whirred with the possibilities that lay ahead. He was the face of fabulous Fashion Fridays now, the de facto leader of Acme's style rebellion. Who knew where this wild ride might take him? One thing was certain: life at the office would never be the same. And Bob Finch, erstwhile wallflower and spreadsheet jockey, was ready to embrace his fabulous new future, one fierce outfit at a time. The days leading up to the big newsletter reveal were a whirlwind of activity and anticipation. Sheila was constantly popping by Bob's cubicle with updates and sneak peeks, her excitement building to a fever pitch. "Just wait until you see the final layout!" she gushed. "Aiden really outdid himself. That boy has an eye for drama, let me tell you." Bob just nodded, his stomach churning with nerves. He had caught more than a few curious glances from his co-workers, all clearly wondering what had their normally staid colleague in such a tizzy. Even Mr. Johnson seemed to have taken notice. He stopped by Bob's desk one afternoon, clapping him heartily on the shoulder. "Finch, I hear big things are brewing with this little fashion project of yours. Good man! Way to show some initiative. Keep shaking things up around here." Bob managed a weak smile. "Will do, sir. Just trying to keep things interesting." "Well, you're certainly succeeding. I can't wait to see what you come up with next." With a final jovial shake, Mr. Johnson strode off, leaving Bob to stew in his mounting anxiety. What would he come up with next? This had all started as a lark, a one-time burst of sartorial defiance. Bob had never meant to become the ringleader of an office-wide style circus. But now, with expectations mounting and the newsletter looming, he felt pressure to keep upping the fabulous ante. The morning of the big reveal, Bob arrived to find the office abuzz with anticipation. Clusters of co-workers huddled around desks, clutching steaming mugs of coffee and whispering excitedly. As Bob made his way to his cubicle, he was met with a barrage of eager questions. "Is it true what they're saying? You're going to be on the cover? What are you wearing for the big day? Something totally wild, I bet. Can I get your autograph? My wife will never believe this. Bob waved them off with a strained smile, his palms already slick with sweat. He had agonized over his outfit choice, finally settling on a relatively tame ensemble of embroidered jeans and a silky paisley button-down. No need to go too over the top, he reasoned. Let the newsletter speak for itself. But, as he settled in at his desk, he could feel the weight of dozens of eyes on him, all waiting with bated breath for him to do something fabulous. He was just about to fake a bathroom emergency and make a break for it when Sheila came bursting through the doors, arms laden with glossy pages. "It's here! Hot off the presses!" she bellowed, her face flushed with triumph. A cheer went up from the assembled masses as they surged forward, grabbing for copies. Bob hung back, his heart in his throat. This was it. The moment of truth. Would his foray into fashion fame be met with acclaim or derision? He wasn't sure he was ready to find out. But Sheila was already making a beeline for his desk, her grin practically splitting her face in two. She thrust a newsletter into his hands, bouncing on her toes in anticipation. "Well, what do you think? Is it everything you hoped and dreamed?" With trembling fingers, Bob flipped open the pages. And there it was, his own face, blown up to larger-than-life proportions, staring back at him from beneath a bold headline. Bob Finch, Acme's fabulous fashion rebel. The accompanying article waxed rhapsodic about Bob's daring sartorial choices, his trailblazing spirit, his commitment to self-expression in the workplace. It was accompanied by a dizzying array of photos from the infamous shoot, each more dramatic than the last. Bob felt his cheeks burn as he took it all in. Was this really him they were talking about? The mild-mannered numbers cruncher who had once considered a novelty tie the height of office whimsy? It seemed too surreal to be believed, but the proof was right there in black and white and vivid technicolor. Bob Finch was officially a fashion icon, a trendsetter, a corporate revolutionary. He looked up to see Sheila watching him expectantly, her eyes shining with pride. Around them, the office was abuzz with chatter as people pored over their own copies, pointing and giggling and whispering behind their hands. "Sheila, I don't know what to say," Bob managed at last. It's just so fabulous," she supplied, quirking an eyebrow.
Yes, fabulous.
Bob shook his head, a giddy laugh bubbling up in his throat.
I can't believe this is really happening. To me, of all people.
Sheila reached out and squeezed his hand.
Believe it, baby. You've earned this. You took a risk,
put yourself out there, and look what you've accomplished. She gestured at the sea of colorful chaos that was the Acme office, alive with laughter and energy and a palpable sense of excitement. "You did this, Bob. You shook us out of our rut, made us see the possibilities. That's no small thing." Bob felt his eyes sting with sudden emotion. Sheila was right. He had done something meaningful here, something that mattered. Maybe prancing around in wild outfits wasn't the most earth-shattering act of rebellion. But in this little world of cubicles and water coolers, it was a spark, a catalyst, a fabulous first step. He squared his shoulders, lifted his chin, smiled out at his whooping, hollering coworkers with a new sense of purpose. Bob Finch, fashion rebel, reporting for duty. The revolution was just getting started, and he had a closet full of ammunition. Watch out, corporate America. Fabulousness was on the march, and no stuffy suit could stop it now. Over the next few weeks, Bob's life took on a delightful new rhythm. Every Friday, he would arrive at the office decked out in his most eye-catching ensemble, ready to lead the charge of Fabulous Fashion Friday. And every Friday, more and more of his colleagues joined in the sartorial fun.